All right. Good morning to everyone who is in this webinar this morning, and we wish you a great Saturday. Thanks for spending your time with this webinar. And this webinar is going to take about an hour. Okay, an hour, which consists of about 45 minutes of just information. We share information, and hopefully with another balance of 15 minutes, we will open up for Q&A and have a chit chat, and also in the event that you would like to ask questions, you can just use the chat. I believe by now everyone knows how to use the Zoom already, right? Am I right? Just give a thumbs up if you said yes, you know how to use, give a thumbs up for me. At least I know that you are there. Okay. So, okay, first of all, let me just what they call put this seminar into a proper context. I have spoken to Adam. We said that this seminar we want to explain or share this information in the most layman language, no technical jargons, and all these bombastic words. We are trying not to avoid it, and we want to simplify the whole explanation, because sometimes too much jargon, it creates a lot of confusion and all this. So we want to bring them down to the most layman language. Okay, so welcome to this ADIC Trust Fund webinar. So let us start. Yeah. Okay. First of all, this seminar is actually in collaboration with Ronald McDonald House Charities, and together with our agency, Mortgage Link Advisory and RHB Trust. Okay, and of course, you can read some description on this Ronald McDonald. They are basically a charity home that raise funds, to provide for all these charity homes, and I believe they have done a great job, because you can see from there they have embarked into a mission to establish Ronald sensory groups, sensory rooms throughout the whole Malaysia. So, and I believe they have. I've spoken to Mike that personally about this, what they are doing and all this. I'm quite impressed on the effort that they have put in. So we said, why don't we now collaborate with Ronald McDonald to provide some basic information to help parents. Yeah. Okay, let us start by looking at this. Now, I believe each family, whether the child is special child or non-special child, each of them have their own concern. Okay, they have their own concern. Yeah, so concern may be medical issues, learning issues. They have behavior issues, financial issues, development issues, and mental issues. So there are so many issues that being a parent, we have to really concern about, or concern about. Okay, but this slide is basically just to show you that we are talking about the financial issues. Okay, the rest, I'm going to leave it to all the experts to do it. Okay, on the financial aspect of it, this is where we as a financial planner and a trust company can come in to provide information. Now, why this webinar came about was because of this Annie. Okay, I put down here Annie. It's because one of my friend. Okay, she is already probably about 60 plus and so forth. He actually has a son who is at autism. Okay, he's an autistic child and very talented, and he is by now would be probably age 22, 23. She shared with me, being an elderly person, and her main concern is how is my son is going to carry on in his life, where both of them, husband and wife, is already old, and where is he going to go, and financially who is going to take care of him and so forth. Okay, and this story was told to me because she knows that she is going to retire from the business and so forth. And I said that I mean, I don't have information. I can't really help you in any way. But I was thinking, is there something that I can actually do to really, help this group of people, this group of parents. So this is where the financial aspect of it came about, and I was doing a bit of research on this area. So this is where the webinar was mooted, because we probably can come in from the financial aspect of it. All right. So today we are just going to share more on the financial aspect of it. Okay. Okay, let's take an example of Mr. Zack and Mr. Zack. Okay, his son name is called Adik. Okay, let's name it Adik. Okay, so both of them work hard, and they really work hard because they know they need to provide for Adik's future. So that's where they came out with this tabung lah, Adik. Okay, the Adik funds for so they will save whatever they can, put into the tabung, build the tabung so that for future of Adik. All right. And what they can put here is, well, they can save, they can put all the savings, FDs, hush for this, special for this Adik, or they can buy property and whatever shares that they have. This is special for Adik. Okay. So they really work hard. Both of them really work hard for that. Okay. Now, the issue here is that what will happen to Adik Fund when both are not around? Okay, so this is where the issue comes in. When both not around, could be because of death, or it could be because they are incapacitated due to disability. All right. So this is the pressing issue that my Miss Annie was telling me too. That they have money, but whether enough or not, they don't know. Okay, whether who is going to take care of also they don't know. All right, so this is where it comes in the sets of problem. So Mr. and Mrs. Zack now have to find someone to manage this Adik's fund. All right, so obviously they have to set up a will, for them to nominate a person. Okay, of course they will look at, okay, who I can trust. Okay, who I can trust, so they call it a trustee. All right, so you nominate a person. This person may come from his siblings, his parents, his relatives, and so forth. All right, so any of this category of people that they nominate can come in to become a trustee, for Adik. All right, so the funds will come from the Adik fund, which they have set up. They pass the money outright to the nominee to handle. Okay, now the problem will come is when Zack death, okay, deceased, or the assets is immediately frozen. Okay, it's frozen, and they have to go through probate estate, for them to take out the money. And the question here is that how sure the money will reach Adik, because the money is given outright to the trustee. All right, and the other issue here is that how fast can Adik gets the money, right? Because the probates and all this money being frozen sometimes may delay the process of getting the money. So now it becomes an issue, an estate issue here. Okay, down the road, if in the event, eventually the money will reach the trustee's hands, okay, assuming let's say 1 million, So 1 million is received by the trustee now. So as soon as the trustee receives the money, problems may arise. Things like how long, okay, the trustee will be there to fulfill Zack's wishes. Okay, but the question is that this trustee knows Zack's wishes? He probably may not know. Then will there be a continuity issue? Maybe halfway through, this trustee says it's too burdensome for him and unwilling to continue, and therefore everything stops. Okay, or it could be maybe because of being a trustee, you are also governed with the trust law. So the knowledge of trust law also must come in. Then what happens if Adik deceased? Okay, deceased, and the balance to be distributed to who? The balance of money in this fund, the 1 million, maybe some balance money, who to give to? Then if trustee deceased, okay, Adik funds will also be frozen because it's held by the trustee. All right, and the ability to manage funds due to incompetency may also arise. All right, and no creditor proof. Whatever money that he holds, if he goes into business, the creditor can sue against him. And if the trustee have legal issue, things like bankruptcy, all right, then under the section 48, the court now have to appoint a new trustee. Okay, and bearing in mind, Mr. Zack and Mrs. Zack is not there anymore. So the court can appoint any trustee they deem fit, right? So this become a trustee issue. So you can see from here, the trustees issue and the estate issue now become Zack's financial issues. So we know that other issues that we cannot handle, okay? But financial issue is the most burdensome issue because it involves all the legal matters. It involves all the legal laws and so forth, yeah? Okay, so how to ensure financial security for Addicts Fund in a timely manner, to continue and so forth, then have a peace of mind that this fund will eventually reach Addict. Accountability, there's some things like laws, trust laws may take place, managed professionally and with experience in trust laws. So how do we ensure such security for Addicts Fund? Okay, this is where the scenario changes. So now a person to become a trustee, they can now look at corporate trust. Okay, the corporate trust works in this way. You still have Addict here, okay, and now the trustee is no longer the person holding the money, but they can appoint a caregiver or the guardian. Okay, the guardian to take care of Addict. Addict is the ultimate beneficiary. So what they do is that they assign the policy, okay, the insurance policy, Addicts, they call it Addicts Fund, instead of savings, instead of property, instead of shares and so forth. They use insurance policy trust to assign it to a company. This company is called a corporate company. So they name this Dana here, or the funds here, Addict Trust Fund, okay? So the funding comes from the insurance part, okay? While they are still alive, they assign it, okay? At the same time, they are going to leave all their wishes for Addicts via a trust deeds, a document that spell out all his wishes. We call this, just in layman term, we call it letter of wishes. Okay, all his wishes, or in other words, to-do list. Okay, all the things to do for Addict when he is not around, both of not around, and this trust deed is kept by the corporate trust. Okay, so ultimately the corporate company will then execute Zack's wishes based on all the to-do list. Okay, so this is basically a simplified a flow. Money funding coming from here. Trust deeds will leave all the instruction for the trust company to fulfill. Okay, right. So the same scenario can happen where both not around, okay, due to death. All right, then the insurance policy now goes through a process of claims. The insurance will pay directly the money to the trust. So assuming Mr. Zack bought a policy of 1 million, or let's say 2 million, okay? So this 2 million, straight away tomorrow, the money will flow straight into the trust without bypassing all the probates, and for Muslim will be Fara'id distribution and so forth. So it will bypass, money goes straight into the trust. So the trust is subjected to the Fuji actually have to follow again the trust deed which Mr. Zack actually have written. Okay, so all the instructions in this trust deeds is now followed. Okay, the money flows out from the trust, and the money goes straight to the caregiver or the guardian in this case to execute Zack's wishes. Okay, now you can see from here that The money now is handled by a corporate company. It's no longer a person. All right. And what would be the advantage of appointing a trust company to handle such thing? Okay, leaving all the list of to-do lists for them to do. Okay, you can see from here that now the ADIC Trust Fund there is no delay, because as I mentioned, the money flows straight. Okay, the proceed flows straight into the trust, and the trust is already have funding to take care of ADIC's what they call expenses and so forth. Okay, and at the same time, it will bypass all the probate matters and all the legal matters, everything. So there is no delay. All right. Second is that since we have the trust deeds is already in place with the corporate trust, so Zach's wishes is executed, is guaranteed to be executed. Okay. At the same time, the funds here is not frozen. Okay. Unlike estate, okay, it will be frozen, but this money goes straight and it is not frozen. So you will get immediate funding. Okay. Now, at the same time, the money is sure to the money will be dispersed by the company, by the corporate company to the guardian. Okay, and the guardian's function or duty is to take care of ADIC's all the financial expenses. Okay, then there will be a continuity is assured, because the corporate company is there. Okay, they will not say that halfway through they're going to give up. It's so tough. They are not going to do that. Not like a normal appointment of trust, like brothers or siblings or whoever, you know. So their function is basically to disperse money, okay, and to take care of the funds. And at the same time, because the corporate trust company is governed under strict laws, so whatever that they are doing, they are very, very careful, and they know that the laws are behind them. Okay, so professionally managed with strict laws in place. Okay, at the same time, the funds in this trust here is protected. Okay, because there is an independent, and no one will be able to touch this money except through the wishes of Mr. Zach, how the money is dispersed, and they will follow through. Okay, from here. Okay, so this is a rough idea of how the trust can be, how the trust function for a special kid. And you can see from there that now the trust becomes a very valuable instrument to take care of the uncertainties, the worries of parents when they are not around anymore. And now the money is managed professionally by a trust company. Okay. Now, here the issue here is that how do I set up this trust fund? I will pass it over to Adam, and he will probably introduce himself much more. Okay, Adam, are you there?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So Adam, yep. I will stop my sharing. You will take over from there.
Sure.
Okay. Thanks, Adam. Okay, you take on the platform now.
I can see my screen.
Yes, Adam.
Yes.
So we can see your screen.
All right. Thank you. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon, everyone. First off, I would like to thank Rumi for inviting me for this session, right? And also thanks everyone who joined us today. So how do we actually collaborate with Rumi? Is that actually Rumi is our registered senior estate planner. Okay, so I'm actually the rep from REB Trustees. Okay, so I believe today is a good sharing for all of you. Yeah, because just to sum up what Rumi has explained, for us who have children, minor children below 18 or even with be it special needs or non-special needs children, right? The main concern that not many people actually think of, right? What will happen to all the assets that we have created for them, that we have accumulated for them and protected what will happen to all these assets once we are no longer around, or once we are incapacitated, right? Who will actually take care of them? Who will actually provide for them? Okay, because mainly children, the main things that they need is, of course, someone to take care of them physically, right? The second will be a place to stay, and of course, the third will be on the financial side, right? They need cash. That's the three main things in case the parents are no longer around. Okay, so today we are focusing on the third part, which is the financial part. How do we ensure that we can actually manage the uncertainties that actually Rumi have mentioned before? Okay, so one particular funding tool, which I personally believe is very important and crucial for every one of us, right, which is insurance, or actually Takaful. Okay, why I say this is because our other assets, right, which do not have nomination or assignment whatsoever, our other assets, like our property, cash, investment, so on and so forth, once we are no longer around, all these assets will be frozen. Okay, and for our loved ones, our beneficiaries to actually acquire those assets, they will need to go through the administration process, either to get letter of administration or to get the probate, right? Now, these two documentations is actually the key for them to unlock our assets, okay? And in getting this key, right, there are certain uncertainties, okay? First, you do not know when will you get the key, okay? Then you will not know how much will it cost your family members to gain this key, okay? On top of that, at the end of the day, you will not know how much will be the balance of your assets that is going to be distributed to your loved ones, especially your minor children. Okay, so these are the certainties that we can't actually foresee. Okay, and just to share with you, in Malaysia, we have around 70 billion unclaimed assets. Yeah, this is for disease case, meaning the assets are not claimed. And the main reason, one of the main reasons why the 70 billion unclaimed asset is due to financial issues. Family members cannot afford to pay off the administration, okay, which is, I mean, something that is sad. Okay, even though you have cash, even though you have assets, it is frozen. So hence, your family members cannot access to pay off the administration fees. Okay? And that is why one of the main importance of having this insurance or takaful funding, because it's an immediate funding. It will not be frozen. Once something happens to you, there will be policy payout. And usually family members or loved ones will use this funding to pay off this administration expenses. So that is just an overview. Okay? So since we are focusing on this particular emergency funding, right? Before we go into that, let me just introduce who we are actually, right? So REB Trustee is actually a corporate trustee. Okay? We are a corporate trustee governed under Bank Negara and also Securities Commission. Right? So why is this not important? Why is a corporate trustee is important? Okay, mainly is because the point there that you can see here, we have continuity. Right? Yes, a trustee, you can choose individual or a corporate. Okay, but why should you go for corporate? Because we have continuity, right? We don't have an expiry date. Okay. Yes, we can go bankrupt. Yes, we can close shop. But being a trustee, if let's say REB trustees one day goes bankrupt, another trustee will take over. So all the product and services that our clients have with us will be continued by another trustee. And we are actually a living proof of that. We initially started in Malaysia in 1993. That was with UOB trustees. Then it was acquired by OSK trustees back in 2002, if I'm not mistaken. So it became OSK trustees. And in 2012, okay, REB Investment bought over OSK Investment. And in a way, REB Investment need to take out the trustee business as well. need to take over the trustee business as well. Hence, we became RAB Trustees Berhad until today. Okay, so all the clients that we had was since the UOB days. Okay, and we are actually managing the assets as of now. Okay, so in short, what are our main responsibility? To put it in simple terms, trustee is actually your personal assistant. Whatever you tell us to do, we do. That's it. And when you talk about corporate trustee, it means we are your corporate personal assistant. That's it. That is all you need to know about trustee. So whatever you tell us to do, we will do. Okay? So these are some of our product and services. We have, of course, the normal will and wasiat writing, because here in RAB Trustees, we cater for both Muslims and also non-Muslims. Okay, we have both products, Islamic and non-Islamic and conventional products. Yeah. So we have will writing, will wasiat writing, and also we have our trust services. But I'm not going to go through all. Today, we're just going to focus on one of the trust product, one of our main product, which is insurance and also Takaful Trust. Okay, so I believe actually Rumi has covered most of it. Now that I believe most of us here understand that insurance and Takaful is a very important tool, right? And why should we get insurance or Takaful policy? Okay, mainly when we purchase this life insurance or Takaful cert, is for our loved ones. We want to ensure that in case something happens to us, be it incapacity or death, right? Our family members, our loved ones will have this immediate funding for them to continue living their lives. Okay, that will be our main purpose. Usually we don't think about ourselves, right? We are buying this for our loved ones. Okay, but actually, ladies and gentlemen, who actually pays for the premium, right? It's on whose life actually? It's on our life. So basically, it's ours. This is actually our asset. Our insurance and Takaful is actually our asset, which most of us don't actually realize, because most of the time we can't benefit from this asset, right? But actually we can. We can control this asset. We can manage these assets, right? And how? Is by having a trust. A specific trust called insurance or Takaful Trust, whereby what do we want to do or how do we want to utilize the trust funds? Okay, this can actually cope with some uncertainties that we have discussed before. For example, right, we buy, let's say for myself, I buy Takaful, right? My main purpose is in case anything happens to me, I want this funding to reach my spouse and also my son, to ensure that at least it covers their living expenses plus my son's education until a certain age, maybe until his degree, for example. So maybe Rumi calculated for me, okay, Adam, so you need this much insurance or Takaful. You need this much sum assured for you to justify your wishes. Fine. But the issue here is, for me, whether I nominate I'm a Muslim, I buy Takaful, should I nominate or should I hibah? If I nominate, what will be the risk? If I nominate, right, if I give to my spouse under Faraid, so it will not go to her 100%. It will need to be distributed amongst my Faraid heirs, right? If I do hibah, then it directly go to her. Okay lah, I trust her, it's okay. But then what if she goes off with me, together with me? What happens to the proceeds, right? Let's say I want to hibah to my spouse 50%, my son 50%. What will happen to their portion? So my spouse portion will go under her estate, will go to her Faraid heirs. What about my son's portion? It will actually go to Amanah Raya, and Amanah Raya will hold it until my son reaches 18. So these are the things that not many people know about, right? So how do we cope with these uncertainties? We have this trust. Okay, so actually manage these uncertainties. Okay, I'm not going to go more into that. So straight away go to the structure that Mr. Rumi actually have gone through briefly just now. Okay, so how do we set up this trust actually? Now we know that Takaful and insurance is important. Okay, So we know it's important. Now, that's why most of us here, I believe, already have our own insurance or takaful. Okay, so we have it. So once we have this product, we will absolutely assign this policy or takaful cert to RAB trustees. Why do we absolute assign? So to transfer the ownership, to RAB trustees. So now the policy holder will be RAB trustees. The life assured will be us. RAB trustees and also ourselves, right? We call, the person who sets up the trust is called a settlor. Okay, put it Mr. Zack. Mr. Zack, I give example, Mr. Zack. Mr. Zack purchased a policy. He absolutes assign the policy to RAB trustees, right? And Mr. Zack RAB trustees will go into an agreement called a trust deed. Now, the trust deed will be the legally binding documentation between Mr. Zack and also RAB trustees. Okay, so in this trust deed, there will be 4 elements, right? There will be Mr. Zack's details, of course. There will be the asset details, which are the policies that you assign, and there will be your beneficiary details. Whoever your beneficiary will be, it depends on you. It can be your immediate family members, your friends, even organizations, your companies, charity organizations also can. It can be anyone, entirely up to you. Be it if you're a non-Muslim, it supersedes Distribution Act. If you're a Muslim, it supersedes Faraid law. So for a Muslim, you don't need to follow your Faraid beneficiaries. No need. It's entirely up to you. And number 4, it will be your to-do list, your instructions to the trustee. What do you want the trustee to do? Again, as I mentioned before, the trustee is actually your personal assistant. You tell them what to do. You decide. Okay, I will share with you how can we give the instructions later on as we progress, right? So upon triggering event, let's say death or TPD, there will be policy payout, right? So when that happens, RAB trustees, being the policy holder, we will be the one who goes to the insurance company and claim the funds. Like I said, insurance proceeds will not be frozen. So we can actually straight away go and claim in the event something happens to you. So we claim the money, like Mr. Rumi's example just now, I said, Mr. Zack have taken up 2 million, 2 million worth of policy, sum assured. So we claim that 2 million, we will put that 2 million inside a trust fund. Now the trust fund will be in the form of your bank account. Okay, we open up a bank account named, for example, RAB Trustees dash Zack Trust or Adik Fund. We can name it whatever we want. So that will be the bank account's name. It's actually a trust account, right? So once we have put that in the account, we'll open up your to-do list. How do we want to distribute? So that is where we take our role as a trustee, as your personal assistant, to execute your wishes. Okay? So what are the benefits of this? So first off, these are just some of the benefits. Okay? In the matter of death, right? Since I give some uncertainties just now, how long will it take? How much will it cost for your beneficiaries to gain the key just now, the probate or the letter of administration? You can utilize these insurance proceeds to actually cover those expenses. Now, when I say administration expenses, it also includes your debts and liabilities to pay off. So this can actually expedite the administration process when you have the funding prepared. Okay? So next point, you can give the proceeds to anyone you want. Okay? And you can have multiple beneficiaries. Meaning to say, not just 1 or 2. You can up to you, 1, 2, 3, 4, entirely up to you. You can have multiple in the sense that first, my intention is I want to give this to my son. But what if something happens to my son? Right? My son is no longer around. Then I want to give to who? Maybe my other children. or my parents, my siblings, I can do that with a trust. Okay, I can even give conditions to the trust for my beneficiary, for my son to receive this funding. They need to achieve something. I can give those conditions, right? Which I will share a bit later on. I can have periodic payments to my beneficiary. I don't want them to become spendthrift. Suddenly they wake up. What would they do? Right? There will be uncertainties there. They might not use those proceeds as per my wishes, right? So I want to control. I want to give periodic payments, maybe on a monthly basis, semi-annual basis, on a yearly basis, also can, entirely up to me. And of course, I can consolidate my takaful or insurance policy into one trust. Why should I do that? In order to increase the fund size. Yeah. Moving on. As I mentioned just now, some are the uncertainties. The uncertainty of nominations, absolute assignment, hibah, right? So by having this trust, first off, for Muslims, you bypass the faraid. So nomination out of the picture, no issue. Okay. Now you have full control over the usage. You can protect against double tragedy. Now, this is very important note. Like Mr. Rumi mentioned just now. What happens if Mr. and Mrs. Zach both also no longer around? Double tragedies. What happened to the child? Can you actually trust the guardian to actually take care of the child? Where do they get the money? So this is where they can get the money from the insurance. And you don't just give lump sum to them. You can control the proceeds bit by bit. So you make life easy for your guardian, the guardian of your child, and also for the children as well, as you have prepared the funding for them. Okay? Ensure proceed reaches the minor children, yes, and ensure proceed able to benefit your loved ones. This spendthrift beneficiary. I think the rest is quite standard. There are more benefits that you can get from having this trust. Okay? And the requirements to actually set up this trust. Now, when I say funding, of course, the funding must be sufficient. Okay? It must be enough to cater for your children in years to come, right? Because our children might be vary in terms of age. We might have, our youngest might be still very, very young, right? So how long would it take them to actually reach 18 years old? How long will actually takes them to actually be independent? It might take years, right? So you need to ensure that we have sufficient funding. So when I say sufficient funding, you need to be aware. First, you need to ensure that there is enough funding to clear your administration process. So you need to know how much, you need to estimate how much will be your administration process in case you are no longer around. Okay. On top of that, you need to know during the period for them to get the key, right? To get the key to unlock your frozen assets. You got cash, you got assets, but it's frozen. So how long will it take to get the key? Generally speaking, it can take up to 6 months to 1.5 years just to get the probate. That is the probate, ladies and gentlemen. A probate is only when you don't have a will or a wasiat. Your family members will need to go through to go and get the letter of administration, not the probate. Probate is for someone who has a will or wasiat. If you don't, they need to go get the letter of administration. Okay, that will take a longer time. I'm not going to go into details, okay, but that would take a longer time, right? It can even surpass 2 years. So within that period, which your assets are frozen, how can your family members or your loved ones survive? Especially when you yourself is the main breadwinner for the family. So how would they survive? Okay, so this is one of the immediate fundings apart from other fundings, for example, your EPF, which will also not be frozen, right? So these are the fundings that you need, the emergency funding that you need to take care of them during that period. Okay, so you need to estimate the cost. On top of that, estimate how much do you actually give for your loved ones on a monthly basis, right? How much funding do you provide for them? Individually, how much do you need for them? So this is how we actually estimate how much sum assured will you need, okay? So hence, we believe 500,000 is actually a minimum sum covered to actually last for at least a few years. But 500,000 will actually not be that much. It could be, for me, based on my experience, last up to maybe 8 or 10 years. Okay, for them to like, provided you don't give out so much lah. You control the distribution. Okay, so our minimum requirement is actually a sum covered of 500,000. Now, meaning to say, it does not mean that you need to straight away buy or get a 500,000 policy. One policy covers 500,000, no. Okay, it can be a combination of a few policies. Okay, not an issue. Okay, as long as the total sum is a minimum of 500,000. Okay, so this is one of the proposal sample of how we can actually draw out our trust. Settle law, for example, Mr. Z. Okay, first off, Mr. Z needs to determine the trust asset, and in this manner, of course, his insurance or takaful policies. Okay, so he determines which insurance or takaful policy that he wants to assign to the trustee. All right. Next, he needs to determine his beneficiaries. Who are his beneficiaries? So, Mr. Z, let's say we go back to Mr. Rumi's example, the adik fund is for his son, the adik, okay, and also his spouse maybe. All right. So it determines the beneficiary, the spouse and also the son. So the duration, how long he wants the trust to be active. So it depends on us. For me personally, okay, up until maybe my son finishes his degree and he starts to work. So I estimate usually you finish degree, you'll be around 24, 25, right? And then you'll start looking for work. So maybe until then. So maybe I put there until my son reaches 25. Mr. Zach here, he puts until his son reaches 25. Okay? And what will be the purpose of this trust fund? What will be the purpose? Example here, living maintenance. You can set, maybe you want to give on a monthly basis, how much you want to give, right? How much you can estimate, maybe 2,000, 3,000 that you actually spend for your children. So Mr. Z might be thinking, okay, now I'm spending for my son maybe 2,000 a month. Okay, for my spouse, maybe another 2,000. So roughly 4,000, 3,000 a month to give to my spouse and my son. So they can give that in the to-do list. Okay, to-do list. Give this amount to my spouse and my son on a monthly basis can. Okay. Next part, education, for example. Education. You can actually decide until what level of education. You can decide which school. So Mr. Z can decide which school and what is the cap for them to pay, maybe on a yearly basis on the tuition fee, on any tuition fee or extra curricular activities, or maybe additional tuition fees, external tuition fees, you can cover that as well. So I just give a simple example. Let's say you want for tuition fees, right? Maybe for higher learning, tertiary learning. Okay, how we control the let's say the school, the university will actually bill to the trustee. We will pay directly to the school, to the university, the tuition fee. We will just transfer directly. Don't need to give through anyone. Okay, that is how easy it can be. Like I said, we are your personal assistant. We just follow your instruction. Medical expenses, right? So anything involving medical expenses, we can be the one who pays directly. Or it can be also a pay and claim basis. The guardian pays first, then the efficient proof with the relevant documents. We will just transfer back to whoever who pays. It's as easy as that. Okay. So I'm not going to go through business capital and all. Can be as well. Just these are just examples. And then charity. You can give to charity as well if you want. Okay, maybe a certain portion. There's another way. You can also do investments. You can never instruct the trustee. Now, trustee, if anything happens to me, for example, Mr. Z, he puts that if anything happens to me and my spouse, okay, if anything happens to just me, myself, you can just transfer the money to my spouse. Can also straight away transfer the money to my spouse. But if anything happens to both of us no longer around, maybe you have 2 million, right? 500,000 is utilized for my son's living expenses, education, or even medical. The other 1.5 million maybe you put in FD so that the money grows. Okay, so that the money grows and it can. Okay, when my son reaches 25 years old, perhaps release all the money to him. Can also. I'm just giving you a simple example. Okay, you can structure your trust is in any way you want. One thing about us in RB Trustees, when we talk about our trust product, it is tailor-made to your individual preference. Okay, we do not have a fixed trust. Okay, it's entirely up to you. Okay, so to sum up, right? We know that insurance and takaful is a very important funding tool for emergency purposes. Anything happens to us, our family members will have the emergency funding, the immediate funding, right? The immediate funding for them to continue living their life. Okay, because we know for insurance or takaful, as long as we continue paying the premium, as long as we don't breach any clauses, there will be payout. Okay, and they will not be frozen. That's the key point. They will not be frozen. Okay, but if you do not have a trust, it might lead to the uncertainties that I just shared and Mr. Rumi also shared. Okay, so by having this, we actually have another level of protection too for our loved ones, regardless who they may be. It can be our minor children, can be our parents, can be our siblings, can be our companies as well, entirely up to us. Okay? So I believe that will be the end of my session. I do not want to go into details, right? I believe we also dragged the time a bit. Okay? So I will actually pass it back to Mr. Rumi.
Okay. All right. Okay, Daniel, you can leave. Stop your recording. Okay. All right. Good.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Adam, for the very informative information that you have provided under the RHB Trust, your services, and the structure of how to set up the trust. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I believe you can see that the combination of the usefulness of trust to structure it for your child or for your family inheritance really makes a lot of a lot of difference by first of all providing you a peace of mind, okay, particularly in the area of finance and long-term security for your children. Yeah, okay. So with this little time that we have, I would like to just ask anyone that have questions that you would like us to address, or if you cannot address your concern, doesn't matter. You just drop us your questions in the. You personally provide you the information, or you can reach us via our Facebook, and you or give us a call. Okay, all right. We'll be most happy to be of assistance. All right. Any questions so far?
So far, none. There isn't any question.
Anyone? You can drop us in the chat group. Sigrid, anyone that is asking question?
No, not in the chat.
Okay.
There is no questions. Okay, there is one.
No question.
There is one question from Jackie Yap. What if the trustee or the caregiver does not carry out
Okay, the chat.
the to-do list?
Hi, Jackie. Okay, very good question. So in this caregiver, okay, that is one part. Now I can only say on the trustee part. Okay, if a trustee, mainly the corporate trustee, if individual trustee, nothing much can be done. But for corporate trustee, if we don't do our to-do list, the to-do list, basically, in other words, your family members will become even richer because you can sue us, and high chance you will win. This one, you can trust me on this. Certain to-do list was not done. And this one, not us, in a general point of view, because we have a few case studies as well, right? We have been sued, and high chance you will win the case, yeah, because we have fiduciary duty on the services that we give. So we need to ensure that we need to protect the beneficiaries. Okay. So for the guardian, now on the guardian part, the trustee can't actually control the guardian because the guardian will be an individual. Okay. Again, if let's say we pass the funds through the guardian and the guardian did not do anything, okay, there will still be a risk there. However, this will also be a legal case, okay, whereby another individual or maybe another family member can go after the guardian themselves. Okay, but one important note, very important note on this is that you need to inform someone. If you set up the trust, you need to inform someone what actually you instruct the trustee to do. Okay, so that that person knows if the trustee is not doing the to-do list. Okay, so the to-do list, actually you have a copy, the trustee also will have a copy. So it's good for you to share that with someone, so if there is a checker and maker, right, so that you can ensure that the trustee is doing their job. Okay, so I hope, Jackie, that justify your question.
Okay.
So
All
Encik
right.
Nasri, so I can see here Encik Nasri is asking, for special kids, what is the age limit, especially those who are not eligible to work? For special kids, when you say not eligible to work, meaning, they cannot gauge into any legal binding documentation lah, meaning mentally special, yeah. So for this kind of children, we categorize them as same as minor. Okay, there will be no age limit. Okay, actually for a trust, Mr. Nasri, there are no age limit. Okay, you can set the limit yourself. But for them, these special kids per se, forever they will need someone to actually take care of them, and forever they will need someone to provide the funding. Okay. So Encik Nasri, I hope that answers your question. Okay. See here, Stella. Can the to-do list be amended from time to time? Yes, Stella, definitely. Okay. And to amend the to-do list is actually FOC. Okay. You can amend anytime you want. Okay. As long as you're still around. Once the settlor or the person who sets up the trust is no longer around or incapable of managing asset, maybe incapacitated, right? Then you cannot change, because only the settlor can change the instruction. Okay. So Jackie is asking, what if the caregiver in this instance will be the legal guardian? Yeah. So now caregiver, when you talk about the guardian, the legal guardian, it will be appointed by the court. Okay. Now on practical wise, what is actually happening? Yeah. in the real world. So actually, when it comes to the legal guardian of our children, it actually goes down to whoever offers themselves to become the guardian. The court will not actually force you to become the guardian. No. Okay. So it will take someone who actually offers themselves. So that is a bit tricky part. That is the part whereby you need to know who are your trustworthy individuals that can actually take care of your children. Okay. How you can actually appoint these guardians, right? You can actually appoint them in your will or wasiat. Okay. You can't appoint this guardian in your trust. Okay. But how do you actually want to give some benefits for this guardian? What would they get if they become the guardian of your kids? So you can actually give this. So how do you want to give some maybe allowance to the guardian? That one you can actually put in your trust. You can give those instructions, those allowance in your trust. So whoever becomes the guardian, they will receive this allowance. Okay, Jackie, I hope that answers. Very good questions.
Yeah, okay. So I don't think there is any more questions. So anyone wants to ask any questions, you can ask now. Okay, there's another question from Jackie.
Okay.
Okay. I know about this appointed caregiver passed away suddenly in the midst of carrying out his or her duty. You say caregiver is an individual, right? So again, this legal guardian goes back to my earlier explanation. At the end of the day, you will need someone else to actually offer themselves to become the guardian. Okay. Worst case scenario, no one offers themselves, then the court will actually have to decide to, this is the worst case scenario, to send the child to actually any special homes or orphanage. Okay, so that will be the worst case scenario. However, since we are talking about the worst case scenario, how can we actually plan and prepare for this worst case scenario? Is whereby you actually provide the funding. So in case at the end of the day, no one actually takes care of our children, right? And for example, they are being taken to an orphanage or any special home, right? We can actually support funding to that institution, to that home actually.
Okay.
Can I
So
just
great.
add
I
that?
think yes, Mike, you have
Nasri?
something?
Yeah. So it is advisable on top of assign a caregiver. It's good to also have the to-do list uh, for the trustee to perform rather than having to-do list for the caregiver to perform. Right. So that means if if you have certain amount to pay for the school, for the care, for the care centers, all other things, including insurance for the kids. So it's good to get the trustee to do to handle all the payment, the assignment, and caregiver is merely a caregiver. You know, you can pay allowance for the caregiver to take care of the kids. You know, while they are depending on the caregiver. But as far as expenses is concerned, the trustee can be assigned to take care of those responsibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can see from here that the trustee, as I mentioned much earlier in my slide, that the trustee mainly handles the financial part of it, and the caregiver just taking care of the needs of the adik here, in this case adik here. So there will be no conflict of interest in that sense, and also the fundings are properly managed in that sense, because the money that sits into the funds will have either you give an instruction for the trust company to reinvest out, rather than sit there doing nothing. Yeah, so that can be another alternative that the trustees, you can instruct the trust company to do. All right. Okay, so I think we had a wonderful webinar and information that is very informative for us this morning by Adam, and also the slides presentation are all simplified. So anyone who feel that they required us to explain further or questions which will not be able to answer in this platform here, you can drop us a note again. Yeah, drop us a note, and we will be most glad to come back to you. All right. So with this, I think we are just right time, okay, for us to end this webinar. Okay. We thank you again for spending your time with us, and we hope that this webinar has given much information. All right. We thank you, and we say thank you for Mr. Mike for allowing us to collaborate with Ronald McDonald. Yeah, and we hope to meet up with all of you again for other seminars that is to come. All right. Okay. We thank you, and bye bye.